This is not just a story. It's a wake-up call, a painful reminder that sometimes, while we are busy chasing purpose, we lose sight of our most sacred assignment, our children. He was a man of God, respected across nations, honored in churches, but at home, he failed to see what was right in front of him. This is the story of Pastor Elisha, his daughter Genevieve, and a secret that would destroy everything he thought he was protecting. If you're a parent, this story is for you. If you ever plan to be one, this story is also for you, because what happened in your home could also happen in yours. This is a story as told by Afrikanza. But before we get into the story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you are new for more African tales, myths, history, and fictional stories. Pastor Elisha's story didn't begin on the pulpit. It began in a small dusty village tucked between hills and silence, where a young boy would sit under a mango tree, clutching his torn Bible with wide eyes and a burning heart. He wasn't born into wealth. His father was a palm wine tapper, and his mother sold smoked fish at the local market. They didn't have much, but Elisha had a dream, a deep, unshakable desire to become a man of God and win souls for Christ. While other boys chased goats and played in the rain, Elisha was fasting, praying, preaching to empty benches. They mocked him, called him the small pastor with no church, but he didn't care. He believed he was called for something greater. At the age of 18, he left his village with nothing but a Bible, a suitcase, and a vision. He spent nights sleeping in church pews, days walking from street to street preaching the gospel, and moments crying alone, not because he doubted his calling, but because the journey was lonely and heavy. And then the doors began to open. Miracles started to follow him. People came in hundreds, 10,000s. Soon, Pastor Elisha was traveling across cities and nations, holding crusades, building churches, changing lives. His words carried fire, his prayers power. He became a father to many, a prophet to kings, a symbol of hope in a hopeless generation. With time, he built a ministry empire. He had convoys and churches across continents. His face appeared on billboards. His voice echoed across radio and television stations. And beside him stood Mommy Priscilla, elegant, wise, and deeply loved by the church community. They were the perfect team. Together, they raised a beautiful daughter, Genevieve, a bright-eyed 12-year-old full of joy and innocence. She loved to paint. She loved to sing. But more than anything, she loved her daddy. To the world, Pastor Elisha had it all. A thriving ministry, a beautiful home, a perfect family. But in the shadow of his greatness, something dark was growing. Something he couldn't see because he was too busy saving the world and not watching his own house. But as Pastor Elisha's ministry grew, so did the distance between him and his family. He was hardly ever home, from crusade to conference, from country to country. He was always in motion, preaching, praying, healing, but never pausing long enough to sit with his own daughter. He didn't mean to be absent. He loved his family deeply, and in his mind, he was doing it all for them. To give them a better life, to make them proud, to serve God wholeheartedly, and in truth, he was a good provider. His family lacked nothing. His wife, Mommy Priscilla, never had to worry about bills. He would send her money regularly, and she would shop for the finest clothes, take Genevieve to the best salons, ensure their home was always beautiful and full of comfort. But love is more than money. Presence cannot be replaced by presence. And while the home looked perfect on the outside, inside, little Genevieve was slowly fading into silence. Mommy Priscilla too was a woman of vision. She ran a chain of boutiques in 3 cities. She was elegant, strong, and admired by many. But just like her husband, she was always on the move, traveling for business, attending meetings, expanding her empire. And so, the responsibility of raising Genevieve fell into the hands of someone else, a nanny, a stranger, one who was paid to be present, but could never love Genevieve like a mother or protect her like a father. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and slowly Genevieve learned to enjoy her own company. She'd paint alone, eat dinner alone, fall asleep with no bedtime story. Her parents meant well, but good intentions don't shield children from danger. The walls of their luxurious home couldn't speak, but if they could, they would have whispered, "She's lonely and no one sees it." One rare weekend, Pastor Elisha was finally home. The house was unusually warm with laughter and conversation. Genevieve smiled more that evening than she had in weeks. They had dinner together, a proper family meal. She even showed her father one of her paintings, and for once, he paused to look. Just as they were settling in, the phone rang. It was a familiar voice. Pastor Obed, Elisha's childhood friend from the same village. A man he had grown up with, prayed with, struggled with, a true brother in Christ, and now a fellow servant of God in the ministry. On the phone, Pastor Obed sounded weary but hopeful. "My brother," he began, "I have been transferred to head our church in another region, far from here. As you know, since my wife passed 5 years ago, I've been raising my son alone. He's due to write his final exams in a few months, and I don't want the transfer to affect his education." There was a pause. Then came the request, simple yet weighty. "Please, can he stay with you and your family for 6 months? Just until his exams are over. I'll come for him once I settle." Pastor Elisha leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. It wasn't a strange request. They were like brothers, and besides, Obed's son Daniel had visited a few times in the past. A quiet, polite 17-year-old boy, well-mannered, well-spoken. Later that night, Elisha discussed it with his wife, Priscilla. She thought for a moment, then smiled. Actually, it might be good for Genevieve. She's always alone. It might give her someone to talk to, pray with, someone close to her age. Why not? And just like that, the decision was made. They would welcome Daniel like a son. They would house him, feed him, help him study. They trusted Pastor Obed and by extension his child. A week later, Daniel arrived. Tall, gentle, respectful. Everything a parent could wish for in a teenage boy. He greeted Pastor Elisha and Mommy Priscilla with reverence, calling them daddy and mommy, as though he had lived with them all his life. Even the house staff took a liking to him quickly. He was neat, disciplined, prayerful, and full of manners. But the one who took to him most was Genevieve. At first she was shy, as most 12-year-olds are, but Daniel had a quiet way of making people feel seen. He didn't force his presence, he simply showed up. When her parents traveled, he picked her up from school, never late, always with a snack and a joke ready. At home, they would sit together on the porch. She would paint and he would try to paint too, though terribly, but she loved it. She laughed at how awful his trees looked, and he would pretend to be hurt, then ask her to teach him. On weekends, they would sing songs together. Daniel would try to match her pitch, and she would teach him lyrics from her favorite songs. They even created a small music and art corner in the living room where they'd spend hours drawing and humming silly tunes. Genevieve had never been happier. For once, she didn't feel invisible. She didn't have to eat dinner alone or play by herself. She had a big brother now, one who listened, one who cared, one who felt like the family she always wanted. She began to open up. She told Daniel about her dreams of becoming a painter, about how she missed her dad when he traveled, about how sometimes she cried at night when the house was too quiet, and Daniel always listened, calm, attentive, gentle. Pastor Elisha and Mommy Priscilla were pleased. They praised Daniel constantly. What a good boy, they would say. Obed raised him well. He's truly a blessing. It was a Friday evening. The house was unusually quiet. Pastor Elisha and Mommy Priscilla had both traveled together. A rare joint conference in another region. They wouldn't be back until Sunday. As always, they left their children in the care of their nanny. Genevieve had waved her parents goodbye, not knowing it would be the last time she would feel truly safe. That afternoon, the nanny approached Daniel. Her voice was low, eyes shifting. "Daniel, I have to rush home. There's a family emergency," she said. "I will be back early tomorrow morning. Please watch over Genevieve till I return." Daniel nodded without hesitation. "No problem, ma," he said calmly. The nanny left in a hurry. But it wasn't for any emergency. She had done this before, creating false excuses to sneak out and spend the night with her boyfriend. She assumed everything would be fine. After all, Daniel was there, the good boy. As night fell, the house settled into its usual silence. The echo of Genevieve's footsteps, the hum of the fan, the distant chirping of crickets outside. Genevieve was in the living room painting. Daniel walked in and sat beside her, as he usually did. They talked, laughed, and shared snacks. But something was different this time. His energy had shifted, just slightly, something only the spirit could detect. After a while, Daniel stood up and smiled. "I'm going to take my bath. You can wait for me or come keep me company at the door," he casually asked. She hesitated, but Daniel was someone she trusted, her big brother figure. So like before, she followed. That night, behind closed doors, innocence was betrayed. Not by a stranger, not by a monster hiding in the dark, but by the very one she trusted most, the one her parents trusted. The house that once felt warm and safe was now haunted by silence and stained with a pain too deep for words. That night, something changed in Genevieve's world, something she didn't fully understand but could feel. When Daniel first touched her, she froze, unsure, confused. It felt wrong, but she didn't know how to say it. She wanted to leave, but his calm voice, the one she had trusted, made it sound like everything was okay. He told her it was just a secret, that it meant he loved her, and that it was fine because they were family. Genevieve didn't understand what was happening, but she didn't want to lose the only person who had paid attention to her when her parents were away. In the days that followed, she tried to go back to normal, to painting, singing, laughing like before, but something inside her was unsettled, and yet she kept going back. Not because she wanted to, but because she was trapped in the confusion of what felt like affection, but was actually betrayal. This is what no one talks about, how children are manipulated with love, with trust, with silence. Daniel continued to play the perfect brother by day. He helped her with homework, picked her up from school, sang with her in the evenings, but at night, Genevieve would quietly tiptoe through the hallways, knock lightly on his door, and disappear into a darkness she didn't yet have the words to name. And slowly, a 12-year-old girl began to believe that this was what love looked like. But it wasn't love. It was the slow death of innocence, wrapped in silence and hidden in the very house her parents believed was safest. Genevieve never told a soul, not her nanny, not her mother, not even the father she once longed to be close to. She buried it, wrapped in silence, smiled through it, painted through it, prayed through it, and so it continued. Every time her parents were away, every time Daniel found the chance to visit, he would find a moment and the cycle would repeat itself. For months, then years, Genevieve couldn't stop fighting it. Not because she understood it, but because she no longer knew how to resist. She believed this was normal, that this was what closeness felt like. And when Daniel moved away for university, he still found ways to meet her at quiet spots, behind school gates, even during family gatherings. Genevieve, now a teenager, began to carry a storm within her. Confused, broken, and without guidance, she started seeking attention and validation from boys at school, strangers online, anyone who made her feel seen. What Daniel started in silence had now grown into a lifestyle rooted in pain. She couldn't explain why she craved what she hated, why she searched for love in places that only deepened her wounds, why she smiled in public but wept into her pillow most nights. The young, joyful artist who once painted butterflies and dreamt of becoming a fashion designer was now a young woman searching for herself in the dark. All the while, her parents had no idea. To them, she was just going through teenage changes. Being moody, withdrawn, rebellious, they never thought to ask why. And even if they had, would she have told them? She had learned long ago. They were too busy, too distracted, too absent to protect her from the storm that grew right inside their home. As the years passed, Genevieve slowly drifted away from the little girl she used to be. The classroom no longer excited her. Books became boring. Assignments meant nothing. Exams, she barely showed up for them. Teachers complained. The school sent notes home. Her mother thought she was just being lazy. Her father prayed for her during sermons, asking God to ignite her academic fire again. But no one asked what was really going on inside her. And by now, even Genevieve had stopped asking herself. She began to seek comfort in physical encounters with classmates, seniors, even one or two teachers who knew what they were doing was wrong but didn't care. For Genevieve, it was the only time she felt in control, or so she thought. What Daniel had started had become a pattern, and then a habit, and then a prison. Her body had become something she gave away to feel wanted, but afterward, she would always feel empty, dirty, ashamed, alone. But still, she said nothing. But how do you explain a wound that even your parents never noticed? She finished school with poor grades, no real friendships, and a heart that had long forgotten what innocence felt like. As a grown woman, she still carried it, that unspoken pain, that hidden chapter of her life that no one knew. She smiled on the outside, she dressed beautifully, she spoke well, but when it came to love, to commitment, to marriage, something was always broken. She pushed good men away. She stayed with the wrong ones, and every time she tried to settle down, the ghost of her past would rise up and destroy it all. She didn't know how to be truly loved because she was never truly protected. In the end, Genevieve's life was never the same. Her dreams were buried under the rubble of betrayal. Her heart, stitched together by silence, never learned how to fully love or to be loved. Her smile was just a mask for the storm she never escaped. That moment, that single chapter that started in her childhood, ruined her life. And the saddest part, she never found the strength to talk about it. She carried it like a secret diary, one no one ever read, one no one ever asked about. Because not every child speaks up. Not every child knows how to ask for help. Not every child has the language to describe what's happening to them. Some suffer in silence, others act out, and many just learn to live with the damage. Parents, hear this loud and clear. Your job is not just to provide, it's not just to pray or to discipline or to teach. Your job is to be present, not just in the house, but in your child's heart, in their conversations, in their emotions, in their routines. Don't be like Pastor Elisha and Mommy Priscilla, who gave their daughter everything except their time, except their eyes, except their ears. Genevieve didn't need more clothes. She didn't need more toys. She didn't need money. She needed protection. She needed conversation. She needed attention. She needed love. The kind that listens. Because while you are out there building empires, chasing goals, serving the world, someone else could be slowly destroying the very child you think is safe. This is a story as told by Afrikanza, but it's also a warning. May every parent watching this keep their eyes open before silence turns into suffering and before your child's bright future becomes a shadow of what could have been. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more African tales, history, and fictional stories. Thank you for watching.